Oh my God, you are in for a treat. On this episode, my man Sean Whalen brought the heat. He talks about, who doesn't he talk about? He talks about Trump. He talks about Biden. He talks about the Bush administration. He talks politics. He just goes off. And most importantly, he talks about why most men go through depression. You do not want to miss out. And again, if you like this episode, share it, like it, comment, do all that kind of stuff. Share the love, but you do not want to miss this. Trust me. All right, Sean, I have a question for you. So what is it going on with society where we see more and more middle-aged men just depressed, just going through the fucking motion, just going out there and just feel like, they just want to kill themselves?
I mean, there's statistically, there's more men killing themselves now than literally ever before. And, we were talking about this earlier. It's not because there's no money. It's not because we can't go out and create abundance and find chicks and do all this other stuff. We've created this culture where, it's not socially acceptable to talk about your feelings. Like, we've been raised the alpha, right? You bang on your chest. This is what the man is. You just shut the fuck up. You go earn your money. You do your thing. And there's more and more and more men that have just suppressed who they really are, what they really think, what they really feel. And the more you bury that shit, the worse you feel, right? It's like lying. Yeah. Like lying drowns you, right? You think it's gonna hurt other people or whatever, but it ultimately hurts you the most. And so we're literally lying to ourselves. We're lying how we feel. You ask your buddies, how you feel? I'm good, man, I'm good. When really, like, homeboy is fucking in debt, he hates his wife, like shit's going, but what do we do when you say that? You say, I'm good. Okay, cool, man. Let's go smoke a cigar and just fucking go play golf instead of like having real fucking conversation. Be like, no, dude, like,
mask on,
how are you for real? I have a good friend who is going through some shit right now, and I sent him a message the other day, and I just said, how are you? And I put you in capital letters. And he called me 2 days later, and he's like, why did you ask me that? And I was like, because I know what's happening. I know where you're at. I know shit's heavy. And he's like, dude, nobody asked me that, right? Because he's socially conditioned to just be like, I'm good. And I think that's the thing that's really fascinating what's going on in our culture right now is there are a lot of men that are starting to understand that they're not an island, right? You think you're an island. Oh, I'm sad. I can't be sad. I just got to go out and earn and ball and get my bling and shit like that, where more and more and more men are saying like, no, dude, if you can talk about it and I can talk about it, then, I can talk about it as well. And so I think that it really is it's an epidemic of sorts where men just literally aren't telling the truth.
Do you think it's because they think that if they talk about it, they're showing weakness?
Yeah, I mean, we've been programmed since we were little kids, right? And this goes way back to our whole culture, not just men, right? When we were little kids, sit down, quiet down, slow down. When you're in elementary school, right? Yeah. Raise your hand if you got to go to the bathroom. And so ever since we were little kids, it's like, don't do anything or say anything that's going to offend anybody else, right? And so we grow up in that culture. We grow up not talking about real things, not talking about our feelings, men and women, right? But men, there's that additional layer of like, we're the alphas. Like, you got to flex hard, right? You can't cry. You can't talk about these things, like man up kind of a deal. And, that is real. That's how we've been programmed. And so that programming is in our DNA. It's inside of us. And so we start like bubbling up inside, like, fuck, man, we become enraged. Like, you see more and more and more dudes like snapping and going fucking crazy and sedating, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's chicks. Work is a sedation, right? Because we don't know what to do. We don't know how to say this shit. And I think, the real alpha for me is the dude that's in touch with both of those. He's the dude that's in touch with the masculine and the feminine. He's the dude that knows his feelings. Like, he can go out and he can hunt and he can kill an elk in the mountains and be covered in blood and come home and make love to his woman. Yeah. Not just that, like, beat on your chest, like fucking rape and pillage, and I'm just gonna destroy everything in my path. You know what I'm saying?
So true.
And I think it's a really interesting time to have these kinds of conversations.
At one point in your life, you were that guy. Mm-hmm. I know, you had a very successful business. You had everything that you wanted, financial, you were set. And for some reason you weren't happy. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, man, I was a liar. Yeah. I was that guy, right? Yeah. I checked all the boxes. I did everything I was supposed to do. I had the Rolexes and the cars and the houses and cash in the bank and properties. And I had all of the things that were the true definition of success, right? But on the inside, I was like, why the fuck am I doing all this? Like, I didn't know who I was. I did it, and it was like, look, I got a new $10,000 watch. I got a new freaking Audi. I got a new, house or whatever. And inside, I didn't know how to talk about what I was feeling. I didn't know how to share my feelings. And so, you know, I was the alpha, I was the CEO of the company. I had the corner office. I couldn't show any of that shit. And I didn't know how to talk about it. And so I lied. And I was that guy that I'm talking about now. I'm that guy who's literally, I ended up putting a gun on my mouth because I didn't know how to share who I really was and talk about these things. And so I'd go golfing with my buddies and how you doing, man? I'm good. And it was that same racket. And inside it was like becoming enraged. I was so fucking angry.
You got tired of lying to yourself.
I was lying. I was lying to myself. I was lying to everybody. Like nobody knew who I really was. I didn't talk about the things that we deal with every day. Sex, money, politics, religion, divorce, depression, all of these things that are not socially acceptable, right? Because we don't talk about these things because you might offend somebody, right? Going all the way back to when we were kids. I was that guy, and it ate me alive, and to the point where I left my marriage. I mean, I left my business. I walked away from a $25 million a year company that I built from the ground up. I walked away from everything. I literally burned like every relationship that I had to the ground, and one night I almost took my life. Like I literally was thinking to myself, like, I don't know how to deal with this shit. I don't know how to, like, you see that angel and the devil kind of on your shoulder, like trying to figure out, should I stay or should I go? And it was like, it was so painful, but I couldn't talk about pain. I didn't talk about hurting, right? Because we don't talk about those things. I couldn't tell my friends because none of my friends gave a shit because they're doing their own thing and they're in their own space. And so I just lied and lied and lied and lied and lied until I reached that point where it was like, I literally almost blew my brains out. I put a 9mm in my mouth and contemplated killing myself. And the next day that I woke up, I realized that I didn't know how to solve the problem. I didn't know how to not be angry. I didn't know how to tell the truth. I literally didn't know how to I didn't know how to speak these words. I didn't know how to share what was inside of me. And so I reached out to some people and said, how do I do this? And I went on this insane journey for almost 2 years and trying to figure out who the fuck I really was. And
is that when you wrote this book?
That was a little bit after. That came a little bit after, yeah. But I wanted to write a book for a couple of years, man, and I was going to write it about divorce and about depression and about suicide and about making money and being a dad.
That's things that nobody talks about.
Yeah, I couldn't. None of them vibed. And when I have a really good friend of mine who I was on a phone call with him one day, and he's like, "You need to write a book." And I said, "Man, I've started like 10 books, but I don't know what to write about." And there's a lot of people who want to write books face this situation, like, fuck, what do I write about? And he asked me a question that literally, the second that he asked me the question, I knew. He said, if you could only leave one message with the world, what would it be? And I instantly knew what it was. It was like, boop, I saw it, and in 6 weeks, that thing came out.
Damn. It's crazy. So I want to know, you are married. Mm-hmm. You know, you have 3 kids?
3 kids.
3 kids. What came to your mind to say, you know what, I just want to get out of this relationship? Because I've been through a divorce too. Mm-hmm. You know, what was the conversation with your wife?
It was shitty. I was prideful, man. I had so much ego. I had so much arrogance. That alpha, just so unhealthy. Yeah. That I'm the dominator. I'm this guy, and I mean, we never even separated. I was like, we're getting a divorce done. We literally filed papers, and that was it. I mean, there was no real conversation. She was unhappy. I was unhappy. I'm like, fuck this. We're burning it to the ground. It was bad, man. I was in a really, really, really dark place. She was in a dark place, and we didn't know how to communicate.
All the money in the world, all the possessions in the world, but in a really dark place.
We didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to communicate. Yeah. I didn't know how to share these things with her. I was a dick. You know, I would just shut off for days at a time, or I would work 20-hour days because it was like, I found more joy there. Yeah. I was sedating in work, right? Because I was successful in work. I think
a lot of men do that, don't they?
I think that's the easiest.
They use work as a cop-out.
You know, pills are easy, drinking is easy, you know, sex is easy, but like, I think there's a lot of men that do sedate with work. I did, because I felt success there. I was successful there, right? I could make a lot of money, and that was my validation for who I was. That's what made me feel good. I got all the pats on the back, and I had all the accolades and the awards, and, oh, dude, you're so great, you're so great, you're so great. And I'd go home, and I felt like shit, you know? And so it was just, I poured more and more and more into work, which obviously had made her resent me more because I wasn't there. And then by her resenting me, I'm like, look, you live in this big fucking house, you drive an Escalade, like, what are you bitching for? Why can't you be nice? You know what I mean? And it was just this insane racket to the point where we literally just folded up shop and shut the whole thing down. And it was after we got divorced where we actually had a pretty good relationship for a little bit. And it was like understanding ourselves, we read the 5 love languages.
Yeah.
She actually gave me the book after we got divorced, and as I was reading, I was like, this probably would have saved her marriage. She's like, yeah, probably would have, right? And then we started to understand it, and it shed a lot of light into who I really was. But man, I had so much ego, I had so much pride back then, and I didn't know how to deal with any of that. I didn't know how to talk about it, right? Because we don't do that. I mean, my parents split up when I was young. I didn't have a dad around, and I was just kind of like that bull in a china shop trying to figure out life, right? I'd fuck some stuff up and then learn and go, and it was just kind of that 1,000 miles an hour or nothing, you know? So it's like we're either all in or we're out.
What was your conversation with the kids?
My kids were really young.
And you had all three? Yeah, you had all three.
We had all three. My youngest was 2 at the time. He's 10 now. There wasn't really a conversation. It was...
That's not your co-driver. Your co-driver is 13, right?
Yeah, my son's, he turns 14 next month.
There you go.
They were really young, and so I was blessed that they were young enough that they saw and they felt what was going on, and you know, we had the conversations about mom and dad splitting up, but they weren't old enough where there was like serious trauma where they didn't really get it.
Yep.
You know, I mean, my son was barely like starting to talk and the whole thing. So, you know, that was really
the older they get is the more traumatic it is.
I agree. Sure. I agree. I mean, my parents split up when I was an early teenager, and I think it's a lot more traumatic then because you have knowledge now, right? And you feel mom and dad's pain. Where when you're younger, you're just
and you
like,
have biases too.
I just want to go play in the freaking yard. You know what I mean? But it really, I will say this, like through the experience, I have a much deeper relationship with my kids now.
Oh, I see it.
Because we do talk about it.
I see it. I love, you know, not to cut you off, but I love watching your stories. I love how you interact with your children. I love how you spend time with them, how much attention you give them. And, you know, it really made me level up. You know, I remember, and you made a story a while ago and you said, you know, guys, just make sure you're not playing the wrong game. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, because a lot of us are playing the wrong game. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of us, you know, like, you know, I think I read, I saw one of your interviews where you said that nobody, you know, at the end of their life, you know, is said, oh, I wish I worked more time, you know. Yeah. And you cited all these books, you know, and at the end of them, none of them said, you know, that, hey, man, they wanted to do that, and you have to learn from it. Sure. I'll let you talk more about that.
Well, you know, go read any of these biographies of any of these moguls, right? The Carnegies, the Rockefellers, the Steve Jobs. They all say the same thing at the end of their book, right? Yeah. We read their book about how they built their empires and made billions of dollars and changed industries and shit, but they all say the same thing at the end of their book, which is, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would have spent more time doing the things that I wanted to do, and I would have spent more time with my family. So I mean, I shared this last night at Dan's event. Like, I consider myself a fairly smart guy, right? If we consider ourselves smart, and we want to learn from people, right? I mean, if we're smart, we're learning from people. Yeah. We're watching what they do. We're copying the shit that works. We're eliminating the stuff that doesn't, like helping our path be a little bit easier. But these are dudes who are literally on their deathbed, who have run the game, who have played the game, and they're all saying the same thing. And here I am at 41 years old, like, nah, fuck that shit. Hustle, grind, hustle, grind, hustle, grind, hustle, grind, right? For what? And I started to realize, like, that's real shit. You and I are headed in that same direction, right? You and I will die at some point in time. Maybe there's this chamber, I'll live forever. I don't fucking know, right? But when you really think about that for 2 seconds, like every one of those guys, I mean, Steve Jobs specifically, he's like, I'm dying a multi-billionaire, and there's literally, if you read his some of his last words, he's like, all the money in the world can't eliminate this sickness from me. And when you stop and think about that, man, I'm 41, right? I have options today. And that's the thing that terrifies me the most, is the idea that I'm going to end up on a deathbed. And at that point in time, bro, you can have all of the money. You now have no options. Yeah. You can't go back and make love to your woman. You can't go back and take the kids on that trip. You can't go back and race the Baja 500. You can't go back and do those things, right? And you can have all the fucking money in the world. Yeah. And what's crazy to me is, like, we live in this culture, society where we talk about legacy. We got to leave our kids these legacies, right? Like, to me, I could leave my kids apartment complexes and millions of dollars and let them fucking fight over it or whatever. But I'd rather leave 3 children that are independently wealthy. Yes. I'd rather leave my children literally 30, 40 years of memories where they saw their dad building his dreams and living his dreams. Because what did we hear when we were kids, right? Go live your dream. I want to be an astronaut, right? Just kidding. Go get a real job, right? And so when you think about how we were how we were programmed as little kids, it was like, you got to freaking fit inside of this box. And I know for me that the most important thing I can do for my children is show them, not tell them.
Absolutely.
I can show them life. I can say, go dream, kids, but they watch me go to some job that I fucking hate. Yeah. Go dream, kids, you can be anything you want, but they watch me work in this shithole environment, hating my life, drinking myself to sleep every single night because I hate my reality. And so I just decided a couple years ago, after I burned everything to the ground, I'm like, why am I doing what I'm doing, right? Like, I kind of have figured out through Lyons Not Sheep and what I'm doing, like really what I've built the last couple of years, I've just reverse engineered everything. Instead of having a business and then trying to fit my life into it and fit fun and fit all of these things, I'm like, no, dude, what do I want to fucking do? Like, what kind of life do I want to live? Cool, I want to go do this. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to be able to travel anywhere, any place, anytime. All of these idealistic things that people are like, oh, it's just wishful thinking. No, it's not. Decide what the fuck you want to do, and then I built a business to support that. I'm like, well, what kind of business would I have to have for me to be able to live the life that I want? But we were taught the other way. Go out there, hustle, grind, and then maybe at some point in time, you'll be able to retire and have fun.
65.
65 years old. I don't want to ride snowmobiles when I'm 65. I want to ride them now. I'll be so busted up by the time I'm 65. I won't even want to sit on a snowmobile. So for me, it really, like, it became real, man. I started listening to the words of these guys saying, dude, live your fucking life because I'm going to end up there. And I want to be on my deathbed. I'm probably never going to be on deathbed. I'm going to crash in a race car or drive my race truck off a cliff. But like, I want to be able to lay on my deathbed just with a smile on my face and be like, hey man, we're good.
I did.
My kids are chilling.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
They're set. They're all taken care of. They're
life.
doing their thing. And they know that dad played
no regrets.
Zero regrets.
Love that, man. I know you're very outspoken. You know, you're outspoken because you got to the point that, you know, look, I'm not going to dumb myself down no more. I'm not going to live what society's definition of what I should do, what I should do. But when you're outspoken, obviously you get a lot of haters. You get a lot of people that talk shit and what is he doing that and all that kind of stuff. You know, how do you deal with that? You probably don't give a shit anyway. But I mean, but in the beginning, it was probably like, well, am I going the right path or am I not going the right path? You know, can you speak about that and how you deal with it? Because a lot of people want to do what you do. Yeah. A lot of people want to be outspoken and want to live their life, but they're all worried about what people say and what people think.
Here's something that I realized because I lived that life. Right, I tried to appease everybody. It's like in sales. If you try and sell everybody, you end up selling nobody, right?
Nobody.
And so I was that guy who I didn't want to offend anybody, I want to piss anybody off. But all of a sudden, I realized, like, when I went through my divorce and bankruptcy and all kinds of other stuff, like, no matter what I do, somebody's going to judge me, right? So when you stop and think about it, no matter what you do, someone's going to judge you. If you buy a Ferrari or if you buy a Ford, like, no matter what you do, like, here's the thing: if you're fat, it's because you're a lazy piece of shit. If you're ripped, it's got to be because you're taking steroids. You've got to be on drugs. If you're poor, you're lazy, you're undisciplined. If you're rich, you're a snake oil salesman. You're ripping people off. Literally, I step back and I realize, like, no matter what I fucking say, no matter what I do, someone's going to say some shit about it. And so I just realized, like, well, what do I feel? Like, how do I feel when I share my truth? I feel better. That was like when the very first post that went viral years ago. It was scary because, like, I said some real shit, some deep shit. But I learned two things when that first post went viral. It was like the first time that I told the truth. It was right after the whole meltdown and divorce and the whole thing. I talked about how big of a dick I was, and I didn't blame anybody. I didn't blame her, and it went viral, millions and millions and millions of views and engagement and the whole thing. I realized, number one, that I related to a lot of people, and a lot of people related to me.
So true.
Millions and millions and millions.
You got to be
people,
relatable,
right?
man. You got to be real, raw, relatable.
Well, and I said some shit that was like really out there that you don't hear very many people say. You know, especially men. We don't tell the truth, right? So we're always blaming somebody else. But the second thing that happened that has become real for me over the last few years is I felt better. Like, when I shared that, like, it was scary, but it was like almost like I took this weight off my shoulders, and I felt better. And again, I feel like I'm a fairly smart fella. I was like, well, shit, if me sharing my truth obviously helps me relate to people, which I can build businesses around that and whatever, if it makes me feel better, why would I stop doing it?
100%.
You know what I'm saying? It's like knowing that sharing this truth is scary, but I felt lighter, I felt better. I just kept doing it. And I think this is what's interesting, like, when people ask me that question, how do you do it? Because I get a ton of fucking haters. I get all kinds of crazy shit. I feel better, man. And, like, the more I share it, just feels better.
But if you're not yourself, you're going to have haters. So you might as well be
say.
yourself.
That's what
You
I'm
might as well
saying.
be yourself and
Yeah.
and have haters. So you know at least it's real.
Yeah, and the goal again, like when you go think about like all the accolades and all the stuff, right? Like the goal for me is to live life. I want to live my life and do what I want to do today, right? I want to hang out with the people I want to hang out with today, not like, well, what's socially acceptable. So I realized like I'm not here for you or for him or for him or for her, whatever. So it's like, how do I feel better? I want to feel good. Everybody wants to feel good, but we do shit that makes us feel bad. We lie, we don't tell the truth. We freaking deceive people, we play small, we work at jobs we can't stand, we don't take any risks because it's not socially acceptable and mom and dad think you should go do whatever. And all of a sudden I realize I'm like, I don't fucking care about all these people, man. Like it's my life.
Yeah.
Why would I fucking do shit that wasn't making me feel good for you?
Yeah.
The fuck do I care, right? Like when you stop and really think about that, I'm headed to the grave, you're headed to the grave. And 99.999% of the people that want to freaking talk shit or even see any of my stuff, they're not going to be there. So why the fuck would I live a life to try and appease them? Why would I say things to not make them upset if it's my reality and my truth? You know what I'm saying?
No, 100%.
It's liberating, man. It's radically liberating.
I wish you can snap and everybody can get like that. And then we just get over all the socially acceptable box that we have to live in. And that box seems to be getting tighter and tighter, isn't it? You know, like comedians can't tell a joke these days without being, you know, bombarded. Nobody can say shit.
Yeah.
You know, and now we're living in this society that you're walking on these eggshells, and everybody's afraid to talk, you know, speak their mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think from what I see, it's changing. And I think it's changing because people realize, like, I'm not gonna live the way, I mean, people are starting to wake up. I really believe that, right? We're sold something different by the media and everything else, but I'm around a lot of people that are starting to open up, that are starting to share their stories. Guys and girls that haven't shared certain things in their life are starting to share it, right? But I definitely think there's this aspect of you know, everybody trying to be, hence the name of my company, Lyons Not Sheep. I mean, it's way easier to just follow everybody and stay in line, but at the same time, that might actually be harder. I found that to be harder, and I think most people deep down inside, they want to fucking break out of that shit. They just don't know how. And really, the simplest reality, Jordan Peterson talks about this. Jordan Peterson's like the greatest remedy to every ailment happening in our world. Like literally, the ailment, the cure for almost every single problem that we have is truth. So true. I mean, when you stop and think about it, like we live in a culture where we don't tell the truth. Like you're depressed or whatever. So imagine for a second. He talks about this, and I think it's genius. It's like we're going to a doctor, and we have a broken leg. But when we go into the doctor, we're like, my head hurts. So the doctor like touches your head, and he checks your head, and he's like, all right, here's some pills for your head. Thanks, doc. And you go out, your leg's still fucking broken. But you got pills for your head. Well, the doctor didn't fix me, so I got another doctor, or a therapist, or a counselor, or a marriage counselor, whatever. And we're going in lying, not telling the truth, which is why we're not getting better, which is why we're not fucking changing. When you stop and think about it, it's insane. We literally are going to counselors and to therapists and coaches and programs talking about like how our head hurts when really our leg's broken because we're embarrassed about it. We can't talk about it. It's not socially acceptable. If you stop and think about it, just go in there, handle the shit, and you get better. But nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it.
Because they feel like they need permission from society. They need to please everybody. So Lyons Not She, what is that?
It came to me a couple of years ago, just in my journey as I started coming out and sharing my story and talking about me and who I was. I started realizing that I had followed for so long, and you know the best leaders have mastered the art of following, but I was following the wrong deal. I was following this lying path, and it came to me one day, and it wouldn't leave my brain. You know, you're an entrepreneur, and an idea comes, you're like, fuck, I can't stop thinking about it, and you go whatever, and I ended up going and. I called my buddy and I said, hey man, can you just put this on a t-shirt? I just vibe with this. It's just ringing in my head all day long. Lyons Not Sheep, Lyons Not Sheep, be a lion, be a lion. Like, what does the lion look like? What does he do? How does he act? I mean, lion does whatever the fuck he wants. When he gets hungry, he goes and he kills and he eats. When he wants to take a nap, he fucking lays under a tree. And nobody's gonna say shit to the lion. Like, I wanna do that, right? That's the kind of life I wanna live. And we ended up making a t-shirt, and I had a picture that ended up going on social media. And somebody's like, dude, where'd you get that shirt? I want that shirt. So I called my buddy. I'm like, can you make more of these? Like, I'd been in the real estate game for 15 years. I didn't know anything about the apparel business or whatever. So it started literally with a t-shirt, and then I bought the domain and incorporated it, and it became me. It was like it was for me. It was my idea, my identity. It was like, I want to be a lion, not a sheep. And I would wake up every day like, my actions, my words, like I don't want to be this person anymore. I want to fucking live my life, do what I want to do, say what I want to say, be who I want to be. And it caught on like wildfire, man. People loved it and started buying the gear. And so it's turned into a coaching program. And I do, consulting for different companies and people. And we have almost 600 clients around the world right now, part of, the Lyons Not She movement. And it's really a movement. It's an ideology. It's a way of being. And people are attached to it, right?
It really is.
And that's something I'm super, super, super proud of. And so we're expanding and growing. We've got programs for kids that are coming out and men's programs, and it's been a wild ride the last couple of years.
So if somebody wants coaching and find out more about Lyons Not She, where do they go?
Just SeanWhalen.com or LionsNotSheep.com. I'm pretty easy to find online.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah.
That's awesome because I think you're doing such a great thing for the whole society. Nobody talks about it. Nobody wants to admit it. It is so much needed because I see it all the time. I get the messages all the time, and I'm like, wow, man, everything that you said is just so on point. Now let's talk about politics.
All right.
your favorite subject.
I love politics, man. How long we got on these cameras? Let's roll.
We might have to replace the batteries on these. You know what I mean? So I know you're a huge proponent of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And seeing it from the outside is because I see a guy who was a lion. And you're talking about lions, not sheep. He's unapologetically him. Right. He says what is on his mind. He doesn't try to sugarcoat it. And when he says something, he fucks up, he fucks up. I mean that's what it is. Is that what attracts you to Donald Trump, or what is it?
A couple different things. Number one, I did a real estate deal back in 2006, and I aligned with him and wanted him as a development partner. So I actually got to meet him and work with him and Dom Jr. and Ivanka, and so I got to know them, not just like seeing them on TV, but actually interacted with him and spent time in his office in New York. And so I got to know him, and he's a normal dude. He's a normal guy who's made a ton of money and came from a family and built his dreams and stuff. But the thing I love about him is to keep it as simple as possible. I love knowing what's behind things, right? Like you hear people talk, and I want to know why you think what you think. I want to know why you believe what you believe. And if you really think about him, like he is that guy. He speaks his mind, right? He doesn't play that game. He doesn't fit into that mold of saying the same rhetoric and the same bullshit that we've heard from politicians for years, right? When he ran for president, like there was no skeletons in the closet. We knew that he liked freaking chicks. We knew that he'd be married a bunch of times. We knew that there was like all of this stuff, right? No one was like, oh my God, you mean he's been married a couple times and he loves freaking hot women? We all fucking knew that, right? And so there really wasn't a whole lot that he was hiding. When you look at politicians, there's always bullshit that comes out and they're trying to hide who they really are. You knew who he was. You knew that he was fucking cavalier. You knew that he spoke his mind, right? And when he came into the game, if you stop and think about it, like he wasn't in politics. He wasn't a politician. The dude's literally lost hundreds of millions of dollars worth of his net worth by becoming president, where Barack Obama was broke and then became a multimillionaire becoming president. You stop and think about that. Just think about that alone, right? But the thing that I love about him is he really, truly embodies what it is that he wants to say, right? And I honor that. Like, people are like, oh, he says all this weird shit. What's weird? Like, he says what he wants to say. Like, you say dumb shit all the time. I say dumb shit all the time, right? We all do. And I think it's really easy to judge and be like, well, the president shouldn't say that. Why? You want to fucking do that,
because you want to put a president in a box, right?
Exactly. Like, who do you want? A puppet? We've had a puppet for fucking however many years, right? And what are our results? So when you stop and think about it, I love the fact that he says what the fuck he wants to say. Like, I mean, I love when people talk about Twitter, right? They're always like, he needs to shut down his Twitter. I'm like, you realize that Bush and Obama and Clinton, none of them met with Kim Jong-un, and they all tried. North Korea it's always been a problem, right? You realize, I mean, Trump literally sparked that entire reality and the entire conversation by calling him Rocket Man. I mean, he was mocking this motherfucker on Twitter. That's how that whole thing came together. And next thing you know, he's fucking standing there shaking the guy's hand, right? You stop and think about that. Everybody's like, they don't see what's happening behind the scenes. And what I love about him is he's breaking the mold. Yeah. He's literally breaking the mold. I mean, how do you envision having another politician back in the White House?
Because that's your core values, right? Break the mold. Lions, not sheep. Don't follow the herd. Be different.
Yeah.
Say what's on your mind. You know what I mean? Not try to hide things. He's
exposed so many things that are within our own system, right? A lot of politicians have stepped down. People are like, oh my God, it's so bad. It's not bad. We don't want career politicians. Bernie Sanders has been in fucking politics for 30 years. What's that motherfucker done? Nothing, right? He's like, when I'm president, I'm gonna make all these changes. Bitch, you've been in there for 30 fucking years. You haven't done shit. You haven't done shit for 30 years, and all of a sudden we're supposed to believe like, oh, when you're president, you're gonna save the world. No, dude, if you could have done it, you would have already done it. So shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? That would be a good little clip. You can throw that shit out there online.
Bro, I mean, this is fire, bro.
It's just,
fire.
it's real. Like, it's real. And I love that guy because I would much rather sit with a man who is okay with fucking up and okay with saying things that he's passionate about that might not be socially acceptable, but he fucking believes it. I mean, one last thing. I gotta say one last thing.
Right.
I don't know how far you want to go.
It's all you.
If you go back, and this is how I knew, I mean, the day that he announced his candidacy, I said very publicly he was going to win by landslide, which he did. And I've said very publicly he's going to win by landslide in 2020. Like, not even a fucking chance, right? But if you go back to the very first Republican debate, right? Like, there's 16 of those freaking clowns up on the stage and they got Trump right in the middle, right? The very first question of the first Republican debate was literally like a bazooka pointed at Trump. They're like, we're going to nuke this motherfucker right out of the gates, right? We're going to blow his whole thing right out of the gates. And I don't know if you remember this, but the question was, which of you, if you don't receive the Republican nomination, would run as an independent? I mean, essentially, if you're not elected by your party, which of you would run as an independent? And if you go back, it's on YouTube and you watch it. Oh, everybody's all chuckling and giggling because Trump was very, very public. Very, very public about where he stood. He's like, I'm going to do this shit. And if you watch that, to me, that's the embodiment of the man that I would fucking roll with. The dude that I would stand behind, because only one dude put his hand up on that stage, and it was Donald Trump. And he literally sat in front of the entire world, in front of the Republican Party, and said, fuck you, I'll do it myself. And if you think about that, if you think about that one thing, this is a dude who's standing on stage in a Republican debate, in front of the whole world, saying, I'm gonna become president with or without you, motherfuckers.
And I'm gonna take a pay cut.
Think about that for 2 seconds. That's the kind of guy I want to go to war with. That's the kind of guy who's willing to, he's got balls the size of fucking Texas. To be able to stand there and say that because he's so goddamn confident in himself and what he's gonna do and how he's gonna do it, that's the kind of dude that I want as a leader. That's the kind of guy that I want to follow, right? Who's not gonna be a total fucking sheep in front of the entire world. Every other one of those freaking, he won literally in that moment. He won in that moment. And every single other person, if you watch him, they laughed and they mocked him and they laughed at him. And he's a clown. And every political pundit, he doesn't stand a chance in hell, right? And he steamrolled motherfuckers.
What do you think of his impeachment trial?
I think it was a total joke.
Yeah.
It was a total joke.
I just think that Nancy behind him ripping out the papers.
That's a joke, dude.
I just thought that got to be the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen in my life.
But what do you expect? I mean, look at her. Look at what she does. Like look at her. Look at the track record of these people, right? When you stop and think about it, man. I mean, they're clowns. They're fucking clowns. Yeah. I mean, real talk. If you look at a lot of these, and this is something that I'm big into politics because I not only love this country, but I believe in the system. I believe in it, right? But we have a broken fucking system. Yeah. We got career politicians that have literally made. Nancy Pelosi has amassed a fortune being in politics. The Clintons, I mean, these people are why our system is the way that it is, right? And we're part of society. When we talk about society being fucked up, we are part of society, so we're saying that we're fucked up too. Watching what he's done and watching how he's taken on these career politicians and not been ashamed of it, I love that stuff, man. I love that stuff. I love renegades. I mean, if you think about how this country was founded. This country was founded by a bunch of dudes that are like, nah, fuck the British. Fuck you guys. The rules of war where you couldn't go after the leadership. You couldn't kill the generals and stuff like that. And want to know what happened? Want to know how we beat those dudes? Like, we just fucking broke all the rules. We had a bunch of treasonous men who literally signed the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Like, they were literally signing their death warrant by doing what they did. These were dudes that believed in the bigger picture so much that they were literally willing to put themselves on the line. This is a dude who's fucking got his name on the side of a jumbo jet. He doesn't have a jet. He has a jumbo jet. He has his name on towers and he makes fucking hundreds of millions of dollars. Why does he need to come in here and face all that ridicule and have everybody lambasting him and talking shit about his family and stuff like that? He doesn't need that. He'd be out playing Mar-a-Lago golfing all day long. Yeah. You're willing to freaking put your name in there and put your hat in the ring? That's a dude that I'll stand by, man.
Sean, what you want people to remember you by? mean, you've taken this incredible journey. You are such an amazing father. I have to say, as a father, I respect you as a father.
Thanks, man.
You know,
Appreciate that.
I see all this kind of stuff. I mean, you literally have made me think twice about my trajectory and what game am I playing, you know, but what do you want to, you know, when it's all said and done, what do you want people to remember you by?
I hope that, you know, one of my favorite scriptures is, if you save a man, how great will be your soul, but if you save many, you know, how great shall be your reward in heaven. And I think about that a lot. Like, I realize that I can't save anybody, I can't change anybody, I can't make anybody do anything, but I realize that, like, I'm willing to live it. You know what I mean? And I pray, I don't hope, I hate hope, but like my prayer is that somebody wakes up one day and is like, no, dude, I'm gonna live my life the way I wanna live my life. Yeah. Or a father is like, you know, I'm gonna spend these 30 minutes, I'm gonna go throw the football with my kid. And they see a video of mine and it changes their reality. And somehow, like, they change their direction 1 degree and they become more connected to their kids, or they decide to leave their job. You know, I mean, I realize I can't change the world. We keep talking about changing the world. Like, I want to change me. By
changing you, you will change the world.
My prayer is, you know, that's why I have this lighthouse tattooed on my arm, is like, I want to shine as bright of a light as possible. And I pray that at the end of it all, that ripple continues on through history. People. You know, my kids live a better life. They're more real. They're connected, and other men, you know, become more connected to their families, and somehow, in some way, inspire people to be able to open themselves up and to really, really, really live life. And if that's 1 person or 2 people or 10 people, like, dope, man. But I want to be able to check out and have people be like, yeah, that dude went all in.
I almost forgot to mention, but you have an app, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, you know, so I love the basis of it. It's because it's like a dating app for entrepreneur.
Yeah. So I a couple of years ago, I came up with the idea of kind of a Tinder for businesses, right? Yep. Because when we're in between meetings or I'm traveling, I go to New York, I'm in LA or whatever, and I have a couple hours here, a couple hours there. Like, how do I connect with people? And I'm big on social media, and I started seeing all the social media algorithms change to where literally less than 1% of my following sees any of my messages now anyways. Horrible. Which is crazy. So it's like, how can I connect with people real time? And I know that we think kind of the same way, where like time is money and it's valuable. So it's like, how do I just sit down with a dude and have a cup of coffee and get to know him? And maybe we have nothing in common, but you need to meet my business partner, or you need to meet my brother or my cousin or whatever. And so I created Meters. And literally what it is, it's like Tinder for businesses and entrepreneurs. It allows you to swipe through people's profiles wherever you are on the planet. And you're walking around New York, I'm walking around New York. I'm like, oh, Sam looks cool, pings you a message and says, hey, Sean's 2 blocks away and he wants to meet for a cup of coffee. You get to look at my profile and be like, he looks cool, and literally just connecting people, because you and I both know at the foundation of all successful business is relationships.
Absolutely.
At the foundation of all successful business is good relationships. And so I wanted to create Meters as a way that people could expand their networks without all the bullshit of social media and the algorithms and being told who to go like, but be able to just connect with real people that they might never otherwise be connected with, just based off of, you know, them being in a certain location. So it's taken off really well. People really, really, really like it. So we're in go mode and trying to grow it as big and quick as possible.
Bro, I think what a great concept. I think that is every entrepreneur out there should download.
For sure.
Download the app. I put all the on the show notes. I put the link to all Sean's stuff. Sean, last words, man. You know, if you had to go back in time, what would you change?
Nothing.
Love that.
Nothing. One of my favorite quotes is, you are who you are today because of the choices and decisions that you made yesterday. And I firmly believe
good and bad.
I firmly believe that. I finally got to a place where I realized even my bad decisions have helped me become who I am today. And if I take those things away,
you wouldn't
be
who you are.
Who I am today. I wouldn't know what I know now. And you have to have polarity, man. You have to really appreciate the light. You've got to be in the dark. And for me, I mean, if I could go back, I wouldn't change a damn thing, man.
Wow. Say that quote for me one more time. I gotta let it sink in.
You are who you are today because of the choices and decisions that you made yesterday. Thomas S. Monson, the old president of the Mormon Church, said that, and I really vibe with that. I mean, you really are, if you think about it, you are the net sum total of everything that's happened to you in this life. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think a lot of people carry around baggage, and they think that they've made a lot of mistakes and it makes them a bad person. And I disagree. I mean,
I agree with you.
I think that experience is knowledge and knowledge is perfection.
Yeah.
And once you know something, you know it. And you know what you like, what you don't like, what makes you feel good, what makes you feel bad. And to me, it's like you're the net sum total of everything that you've done, which makes you fucking perfect right now. Perfect. So many people walk around thinking I'm not perfect, I'm a piece of shit, or I've screwed up, or God thinks I'm whatever. Nah, bullshit, man. We're fucking perfect creatures right here, right now, learning every single day, adding to that knowledge, which knowledge is perfection.
Brother, man, that was profound. What a great interview. I appreciate you coming to the house, man. I know you're only here a couple of days, man. God bless you, bro. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Hey guys, if you liked today's episode, do me a huge favor. Go ahead and leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, leave me a review, and tag a few friends that you think can benefit from what we shared today. Really appreciate it. God bless.